So the next item is discussion around turf playing fields. And I don't know about y'all, but I've heard from a lot of folks that have seen a lot of activity on social media, really highlighting a gap that we have in our facilities, particularly with athletic fields. This has been a weird year in that we've had what seems like rain every Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday or combination of, and these fields have not been able to, we've not been able to have activities. Lots of cancellations. I know some kids haven't even played one game. And I think we need to do something about it. And so I'm going to propose to this council that we put one turf field at Jonquil and one of the areas at Riverline turfed. I'm going to propose that we try to do this between when the season ends, soccer season ends at the end of November, right before Thanksgiving, and install them then through before. So it takes 6 to 8 weeks to install. They would be installed by the time they start again in February next year. We have gotten some estimates on what this will cost. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood $3.3 to $4 million. And the money that we've gotten from ARPA and used for CIP projects has enabled us to have a healthier general fund balance than we've had in some time, in addition to the all of the staff packages to improve compensation that has not been as expensive as we had anticipated. So those two things have resulted in us having funds available to take care of this. So I have Richard here to make a presentation. He's got some graphics about where exactly we're talking about, who he's spoken with, what all goes into this. And then the idea would be, if this council is agreeable to pursuing this, we would put it out to bid, have the bids come back, make sure that's within the cost that meet if they're close to the estimates, and then vote to move forward. So Richard?
We have the one company that we've talked to that has presented us with an estimate is Deluxe Athletics. This is fast and furious, put together quickly. Scott, you'll have to buy one on the black market. Good. Oh, Scott, you might get lucky. So just to kind of give you a general idea of what we're dealing with, we've got Riverline Park and Jonquil Park, and I've put them in here individually, but at Riverline Park, we have two fields, the lower field, the upper field, two pitches, whatever you want to call them. NASA Top Hat has sliced these fields up. At least in this photograph, there are 8 fields here. But just to give you some background, and we'll see some more. Currently, they've got 1,425 kids, age range 18 months to 18 years old, that are trying to play soccer in this program, 186 teams. Riverline primarily is their academy program. And to date, at Riverline and Jonquil combined, they've lost 843 practices or games due to weather-related issues. Their field configuration, if you look on their website, they show 13 different field configurations for Riverline Park. So you can see how easy it is for these practices and games to accumulate pretty quickly when you've got, let's say 11 or 10, because the red ones, obviously, if you're using the red fields, you can't use the green ones behind them. So 11 fields, if you lose 11 practices, an hour or a day of that, they accumulate pretty quickly. So if you propose artificial turf, and this was the question that was put to me, the area that I would suggest to do it would be into this lower field. It's approximately 133,000 square feet, and that's the price estimate that you have in front of you. Keep in mind that in addition to the field, you'd have fencing and netting that would have to be replaced here in order to get this right. These are some current photographs of the complex to kind of show you what the fencing looks like. This is all 4-foot fencing with netting. My proposal would be that if we're going to put synthetic turf in, we need to secure the field to be able to control who has access to it. So we'd have to fence the entire field. We probably need to start with an 8-foot fence. And then put the 20-foot netting above that to control ball travel to the best of our ability. This is all in the proposal that you have in front of you. These are all the steps for River Line based on our conversation with Deluxe Athletics. And he comes up with a price tag of 1.836 or about $13.71 a square foot based on the industry standard. That's currently between $13 and $16 a square foot to get these fields installed. So that's pretty close. That one is pretty easy. The difficulty that we'll face at Riverline from a field standpoint is, keep in mind that used to be a landfill, so we may have some unsuitable soils that we would have to deal with on this site if we chose to do that. And I'll show you some cross sections here in just a minute of what a synthetic field looks like. I do want to make sure we don't miss this, and when you read this, this is just a proposal for budgeting purposes. There's a lot of things that still need to be considered. So as we leave her tonight, there will be other things that will come up. Jonquil Park, again, this is where you play gas play. Are you recreational league? Mike is back here.
We have Mike who runs NASA Top Hat who has come here tonight as well.
He's going to make sure I don't tell you any lies. 22 fields here. And that's, again, this is what's on their website. I know from being out there that they currently don't have the lower field set up as 6v6. They've got it set up for 3v3. There's like 9 or 10 3v3 fields down there right now.
Currently 10 3v3 fields, 2 7-a-side fields in the middle, and then 5 5v5 fields on the top 2 fields.
All right. Whoa. What's a 3v3, 5v8?
Three players each team.
3 players each team. It's like there's 2 letters and numbers.
Tell me on that block that we're talking about on the far left, that's the one that we're talking about turfing, right?
This is the one
What do you have it set up right now?
Currently, we have it configured for our youngest because it's the largest area of the park, and that's our heaviest, that's our largest segment of the population.
And how many of those fields?
Currently, we have 10 small, basically 20 by 30 square blocks kind of parceled out.
So turfing that would make a huge difference in the program.
Absolutely, and just eyeballing, sorry, not to step on your toes, but just eyeballing the proposal, essentially the space currently as configured, it's not large enough to play full-sided soccer, kind of like what you see older kids, high school age kids. There's a slope going from the sidewalk down onto the bottom field that prevents us from putting the goal in a proper position.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now.
So you just would that,
I didn't mean to step on you. Sorry.
would this address that issue?
What I would propose,
Would our plan propose?
I would propose that we plan to address that issue.
Okay.
Yes, and I've got some photographs.
And that's in which field?
This is Jonquil Park.
No, I'm talking about what the slope that we're talking about. Is that?
I'll show you in some photographs I got coming up.
Okay.
Okay. I know the anticipation's killing you. I'll get there. See, Mike, throwing me off the game. I'm not inviting you back to any more parties. All right, so if we propose artificial turf here, I mean, this is that same lower field. The orientation is different. This is a GIS map, so it doesn't rotate for me. Maybe it does for other people. It doesn't for me. Same field we're talking about. This configuration. This is about 80,000 square feet, and I think the way that Ray did it on his proposal, he had 83,000 square feet. We're roughly somewhere in that area, and I'll show you where I think we can gain some ground at this park that we ought to try to gain if we can. Can I swipe this from either side and it does the same thing?
Nothing.
Okay.
Well, that's the same thing.
So
Either way, no.
there's a couple here. This side is a little bit more difficult. This side is a little more difficult. When you look at the pricing, his pricing actually comes out to be about $18 a square foot because of the difficulties on this site. This field, even though it's here and can be played on, it rolls off on this end towards this fence line and it rolls towards this fence line. It's not a level surface. And then the whole thing is coming uphill towards this sidewalk. And you've got about a 12-foot slope on this end. So what we would propose that we do, and you can kind of see how this rolls. I mean, your field is up here and then the whole thing just kind of rolls down so that when you're standing on the field, you've only got about 2 foot of fence that's actually guarding this. They put the fence down in the slope too, and they built this. What I would propose that we do is we try to build all this up to field level as far back as we can, and maybe pick up 4 or 5 feet on this end. But then you can see where how bad the fence is over here. All of this fence would need to be replaced too. But as you're going up this, you can see the slope here that takes this up to this next level field. I would propose that we cut all this down level, take these trees out. Sorry, that's a cuss word, but you need to take the trees out. You're going to put artificial surface in here because you don't want all this leaf debris. You don't want all the organic matter on the turf field. So you need to take out all the trees. I think that we can put a set of steps in here to mitigate, actually, it would actually be better from a handicap accessibility standpoint because right now it doesn't meet ADA compliance at all. So we can fix that too. When we get there, here's the corner. This is why I say it doesn't meet ADA. You're coming from here. That's your entry point. You've got a rising sidewalk that has no leveling off period. The slope's not right. And then they can't get access to this field anyway. So I'm not sure what the thought was there. Level all this out. This is the bank that I was talking about, that Mike was talking about. It's about 12 feet. If you're able to come back as far as we can, maybe pick up 8 or 10 feet of this, put a retaining wall in, do the same thing around the corner, try to get all this as level as possible. We can probably get this field up to 85, 90,000 square feet, which is going to give him what he needs to be able to do 11v11. And then we can either laser dot or we can paint multiple fields on the same configuration. So there's just more site work that's got to be done here. Paul and I were talking about this. We do have a sewer line that is at the top of this hill. We got to figure out how to fix that right here. So we just got to determine if we can come all the way back to the sidewalk or if we have to leave 2 or 3 feet for that and just cut down here. But we'll long way to go. It'd be great too. I know from an expense standpoint, it'd be expensive, but if we could put these light poles back to the sidewalk, that would help to pick up some additional mileage there. Here's all the steps that Deluxe had for Jonquil, and he's got this price out. What did he say? 1.5 for this part. Like I said, it's $18 a square foot. It's a little bit over industry standard, but you've got a lot of site work that's got to be done.
Does that include the making it bigger and doing all that?
Some
of that. Okay.
Some of that.
All right.
Again, they're, I think if we're going to get serious about this, we need to get somebody out there to really, let's dot the i's, cross the t's, make sure that we're all on the same page. All right. So just so you get an idea, this is what we're talking about when we talk about installing a turf field. This is an 8-inch concrete curb that would have to be put all the way around the perimeter of the field. Okay. So that means we're cutting down that at least that 8 inches. Probably going to go a little bit deeper than that. We're probably going to go 10 to 12, particularly around the perimeter, because we're going to put a trunk drain line in to be able to capture the water that's hitting the field. So you're going to go at least 8, probably 12 where this is shown. This is a little better, kind of shows you how it works there. So you've got this trunk line that goes all the way around. Sorry, I got to take the trash out. That goes all the way around the field. And then you have these sublines that cross the field to kind of pull that all the water into these drain lines. And that's why when you install these things, they tell you can take 24 inches of rain an hour and go out there and play. So just some different configurations of how this is going to look. And so that you understand that there's some major excavation project when you do one of these fields. And 133,000 square feet. And you're going to dig down 10 inches, that's several yards of material that you're going to take out. I asked Ray to provide me with, give me a picture show of you guys doing a field, just so you can kind of see it as it's happening. So this is high school field out there somewhere with a track, and they're going to turn it into a turf field. So you got the regular field. First thing you got to do, obviously, you got to come in and do your excavation. So that's where they're starting here. You can see where they're excavating. They're starting to dig out for that trunk drain line and perimeter curbing that we were talking about. Here, they've dug it down. They're putting in their geo fiber material. They're already starting their trunk line. You can see that's kind of all the stuff that has to be put in the ground underneath there for the perimeter drainage. Then you've got that concrete curb. You have to have the concrete curb so that you can attach a 2x4 and then attach your turf to that so that it stays in place. This would be a square or a rectangle, depending on which park you're in. Yeah, there's a close-up of that unit. That's where all the water ends up flowing to. Then it's gravel, and then it's textile material again, gravel on top of that, and you can begin putting your turf down final steps. Obviously, we're not doing football, so let's see what a soccer field looks like. Here's one soccer field. White lines, red lines are red lines are lacrosse, and then yellow lines are another soccer field going crossways. So a lot of different ways that you can approach this from a lining standpoint, and we can get into that later. You can either put all the lines down and make it look crazy. You can have a primary field and then put tick marks down for all of the other fields that will give them the perimeters they need to be able to paint whatever other field they want it to do. We can paint the big field, do the cross fields, and then do the laser dots for all the other smaller fields that they would need to do. And there's a special paint that you can use. It's a chalk-based latex paint that you can use on synthetic turf fields. Falcons do it all the time. We're not the Falcons, but it is possible to do. You just put it on and then wash it off as long as it's done on a timely basis. So it gives them flexibility for whatever age groups they need to play, games they need to make up, they can do that. All right, I do want to make sure everybody's clear. We're not talking about maintenance-free product. Okay, this isn't. There's still work that has to be done once you get these in. They've got to be cleaned, they've got to be sanitized, they've got to be top dressed, they've got to be aerated. The only thing we're not doing is watering, and we're not fertilizing, and we're not cutting.
So is that similar maintenance to what you're doing?
Similar maintenance. You're probably, depending, because of the amount of traffic that the fields are currently getting, we would probably be doing weekly maintenance, where we are dragging the fields to kind of reduce that compaction, pull that fiber, get air into that infill material, kind of get that profile puffed up again. We'll top dress probably once or twice a year, because there will still be high use areas, just like there are on the grass right now. And those areas will have to go back with infill material to keep that up. This is kind of what the material looks like. You've got, this is a deep sweeper here, pulls all the infill material up, pulls all the trash out, dumps the clean material back down onto the field. This is a drag with a magnet. It's really amazing. You'd be surprised how much stuff you end up with on a field that on natural grass just kind of folds into the chemistry, but on a synthetic field sits there until somebody picks it up. And then this is just another type of groomer. So most of them are tractor pull. You can get standalone units, but most of them are PTO driven or that we can put behind our tractors. That's it.
So the total estimate of the two, 1.8 and then 1.8 and then 1.3, or 1.5. So it was 3.3. That's why I said somewhere between 3.3 and and 4, because with all the site work and different things that could come up. And then the idea would be, if this council agrees to go forward with putting out the bid, do a little bit closer look, have the bids come back, then evaluate those results and then decide from there. And then I think, y'all, I mean, this has been highlighted this year because of the weather more than any other year, but I feel like there needs to be a longer term plan to maybe have more turf fields at Brinkley and maybe more at River, maybe another one at Jonquil as we go, thinking about more along the lines of 28 SPLOST funds and dedicating that to sports fields, parks, heavy parks and rec and that type of stuff. And that stuff starts to get planned. If these get put in early 24, maybe we could put one more in the next year, and then the SPLOST, that planning starts in 2025 and is voted on in 26,
and
28.
Keep in mind, if it is the 27 SPLOST, that's going to go through 33 or 34.
28, yeah, so it'd go through 34.
34. This will be 11 years old.
Right.
So you're going to be time, it's going to, you got to resurface this. And
I just think there needs to be a heavy focus on parks and rec with the next SPLOST, and including the athletics facilities like this.
I agree. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes.
So, and I'm sorry if you said it earlier. So what's the timeline again? We've gone over this, and then if you put this out to bid, what are we looking at again?
Well, they don't really take a break. They have summer camps. They're not on the fields quite as much in June and July, But they have the spring season, then they'll do their summer programming, which they typically do mostly at Jonquil.
We're flexible.
And that's when y'all do maintenance, usually.
That's usually when we do maintenance. Yeah, the last couple of years, we've done major sod replacement projects at both Riverline and Jonquil around what their summer schedule has been.
So the bid timeline,
Got to advertise it. And then
yeah, but I was just thinking, like,
30 days, right?
If we waited until November, they're typically done around Thanksgiving. We waited until then to do the fields, then we have really 2 or 3 months to get this process.
The idea to answer your question is go ahead and advertise now. Go ahead and do so you advertise for what, 2 weeks, Scott?
30 days.
30 days, advertise for 30 days, bid for 30 days. Thanks for paying attention. Okay, well,
I think you woke them up.
So a 60-day time frame. Once this council says, yes, we want to look at this more closely, the bids come back, we look at those results, and then we decide from there, based on those results, do we want to go forward? And Mike, I'd defer to you. I mean, I don't know if you're saying that your summer activities only take one of these 2 areas, maybe we could do one of them over the summer and then one of them between when y'all finish in November and start in February.
Frankly, we can be as flexible as the city.
The challenge,
Bid process is a challenge because you're gonna have to advertise it, you're gonna have to have site visits where people come out and look at things. And
yes, for sure. On top of that, these companies,
And it is already almost April.
already have their summer
Yeah.
scheduled because that's when all the high schools are doing.
Well, then it goes back to what we said before, between
Right.
Thanksgiving.
The only thing that scares me about that schedule is that they want to get on them in February.
Well,
And if it is longer than an 8-week or 10-week process, then it's gonna.
if I need to, I can be done. So if that's
Those guys, the folks I talked to and the ones that you were talking to said it's a 6 to 8 week. Now, it looks like Jonquil, that could take longer with the site work, but Riverline could be done in 6 to 8 weeks.
and frankly, Jonquil is where we have our longest, because it's our recreational, it's more of our younger ages. They're done, usually even if it would go a full season, they're done about the first weekend of November, and they don't get back out until the end of February.
Y'all haven't done much construction. Would y'all do the civil on this? Oh,
We can do.
okay.
I mean, it's not a SPOS project. This would come out of general.
Well, but somebody's got to go out and do a civil plan on this and get it ready to bid. And you got to survey it first. And how long are we start to finish? How long? You're not counting that. And
March 30th today. I mean, how long?
basically April, so.
Yeah, tell me, say it's April 1. Tell me how long that all takes. Can all,
I would think best case scenario, we would be able to have something ready either by the end of May or the 1st of June for a bid package.
I can concur with that.
okay. So the bid package then gets advertised for June, gets put out in July. So by August or September at the latest, we have our bids back and can make our decisions. So we're still within, if we're talking about a November.
All right. I still got some other questions. Several of them. I think you mentioned that, and I think you said it, but your life expectancy on these is 10 to 12 years.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Now, the second lift isn't nearly as bad as the first lift. This is the big one.
Because everything's in place, all your drainage and everything else
Just
is
replacing the carpet.
in place. And what percentage wise, what kind of cost are you talking about? Because we're looking at putting this burden on another council 7, 8 years from now. Now, I'll admit that, maintenance wise, you may be a little bit less on these fields than you are on a grass field, maybe not much, but from a big hit standpoint, 10, 12 years from now, we're going to hit that council up with, I'm going to say $750,000 based on today's dollars.
It's a tangible thing for the community, right? They're the community's.
Well, that's another question on down the line.
That was my next question.
So, I mean, that's what we've got to look at from our standpoint. What are we going to do to the future councils in this city? All right. So we got the life expectancy. The other thing is, I mean, we mentioned the budget early on, and we're looking at 3.3 based on what you say. And man, I don't know.
I'll be closer to
I
4.
don't know. I don't do these. I don't personally deal in these things, but let's say it is 3.3, 3.5, whatever's a round number. Maintenance, we talked about synthetic versus grass. One of the, and I've got the complaints too. I got 2 today, I think. But we got a professional organization running this that is a for-profit organization.
Right.
Are they offering to pitch anything into this?
So they have in the past and as of today, still would say they would participate. But here's the issue. For me, when there is a partnership with a company like this, and they have those in Atlanta, right? But Atlanta, they have partnerships, and then those residents have 20 other places that they can go. I'm just throwing out a number. In Smyrna, we don't have that, right? So we're more limited to the alternative locations. So if you do that, then they get an exclusive lease or some of that. And I don't want to, I don't want to go down that road because I don't want to exclude the general public who can use this when they're not using. I don't want to, I would rather the city do it and then have everybody be able to use it with their use agreement, their contract with Parks and Rec and others, and then have open, I don't want to go down that path.
Derek, if we pitch in 700, I mean, if we pitch in 2 million or 2.5 million of this or 3 million of this, we can't give anybody exclusive rights to go down there and use these fields. That would be stupid.
No, what I'm saying is we build it like this and nothing changes as far as our relationships with NASA and the others. It's working. They're able to use our field just like that. They're just going to be able to use it more because it's not going to be flooded and.
And I wanted to be able to use it. I'm sorry. I don't
It's
mean to
okay,
interrupt.
I'll do next.
The last question is, of these, I think they said there's 1,800 participants in the
1425,
1425.
186 teams,
How many of these kids are Smyrna?
45%.
45% city of Smyrna residents. Okay.
It's 60 to 70% in the 3 zip codes that are served by the city of Smyrna.
But how many are city
3080,
residents?
3082, yes, but 40 to 50, or 40,
In
sorry,
city limits.
in the city limits, yes.
Okay.
And at our peak, pre-COVID, it was, we were serving about 1,900 kids previously.
Still roughly, I'm going to say roughly 50% Smyrna residents.
So, and then my question was, because I thought I heard Richard say the increased height in the fence to keep people off of the fields or what?
Recommendation.
So
We control
we have
access to
people,
these fields.
citizens or people that go out there with their children when it's not being used for
On the
games.
natural grass fields, yes, currently we do.
So that would no longer be available for
This field would not be.
But the natural grass
The
fields
natural
will be
grass
open.
fields would still be open.
open, and you'd be putting up the taller fences to keep people off except during.
And that's just a standard management practice for sports complexes of this nature. And that's not special to Smyrna.
Yeah, I understand. I just when trying to think about it too, in terms of it not being available for people any longer that are used to going there on, say, Sunday afternoons or something, whenever there's not a soccer game playing with their kids. And
Yeah, I guess I got.
That's not the only organization.
They're the primary group that uses Jonquil and Riverline, but they're certainly not the only groups. We have had other activities that have taken place at both of those parks outside of their use. And then obviously they're open to the public. We had groups out there playing soccer this morning. Just pick up soccer on one of the other fields. But I think because of the nature of this, I've just seen this where they've been left open for anybody to have access to them. Little kids will go out there and Crumb Rubber becomes a sand pit and they start pulling it up into a pile. There are certain things that you want to be able to control on a field like this. You don't want people out there in the wrong type of footwear. You don't want people out there with gum or with, you really kind of got to treat it a little bit more sensitively.
Not pets either.
Exactly.
All right,
That's what I was thinking.
my last question or comment, whatever is, Before I take and decide in my own mind, I'd like to see where we are, I mean, budget wise with, I mean, I know we're collecting SPLOST and SPLOST is way ahead, I think. And I think it's going to continue for at least a short term. We've gotten, $12 million. What did we get last year from the feds? 12 million, 8 million?
We got
$8
$8
million
million.
total.
We got 8 million from,
Total we got ARPA funds, it's 7.9, but we got that in 2 installments, but total 8 million. And then 3 million from CARES funds.
all right, so you got 11 million total. I guess I'd like to see I don't want a 10-page document, but I'd like to see a summary sheet showing where we are with these funds now. I mean, just because we have them doesn't mean we have to spend them. I mean,
I think what it said,
You want-
already spent.
You want to know, like, you referenced ARPA and CARES, so you want to know where we're at with those funds and then where we're at with our general fund?
with our general fund and SPLOST, yes.
Got a couple thoughts. I think I asked Richard to leave that picture up there because I think that's a pretty good representation of what we're going to deal with in the city for years to come, right? Very limited field space with all sorts of different uses on it, right? I mean, we're not going to come up, more than likely, we're not going to come up with new soccer fields or baseball fields. So whatever we have now is what we have to use. So I'm fully supportive of making these things durable and more usable year round. I think it's.
I may be too. I just don't know that I am.
Yep. I'm just saying, I think, and the cost is obviously we got to sort that out, but conceptually, I think it's the right move and
So
a balance
That brings
of
up another
things.
question.
And I really appreciate the idea. I don't know if we want to get into this can of worms part of this whole conversation, but I do think that city residents should receive a significant benefit relative to non-city residents as far as their cost structure to use our.
Totally.
I would totally agree with
Yep.
that.
So that's kind of a different thing, but I think
And
that's.
I just want to make sure, we're just talking about giving basically the go-ahead to start looking into it. We're not voting on it today.
Latonya, I know that. I'm not dense. I've been doing this a long time.
I'm just like making sure, that's my understanding. We're just exploring to make sure that this is.
Making this proposal, we know the general cost estimates. I want this council, if you're in agreement to move forward with the process, to do all of the things that you mentioned in the surveys and cyber, to get ready for the bid, get the bid back and see where we are on our estimates versus what it actually cost. And then go from there with the idea that is, if we approve it, it would be put in either November 1st or sometime around that time to the first part of February so that it could be ready for the next season. So you put it in when they're not playing.
I can agree with that. I'd agree to, spend money to do the engineering on it. It shouldn't be $5,000 or so. So.
And again, I want to be clear, this is not SPLOST money. This is out of the general fund reserves that we have that are healthier than they've ever been, really, that I know of.
I think they are.
And, and the other thing that goes into this is it does not put in jeopardy what this council has discussed in executive session, of bigger projects down the line. So just, I want to make it, and Kristen can provide all the numbers that y'all want and questions that y'all want to address. But this, I just want to present this. I think it would be a great benefit to the community. I think it's something that all of our peer cities have, and we have not put this investment in. I think it would be well received and used, and just a great addition to our Parks and Rec programming.
Can I ask one more? Do the city residents get a discount now?
Yes. The discount is derived through the participation fee. The fees that they pay to the association to participate are no different for a resident or a non-resident, because that's the association. The city structure is a resident will pay back to the city, or the association pays back to the city $15 for every resident that is participating in the program, and $40 for every non-resident that's participating in the program. So that's the money that we collect back from the association. How they fold that into the fee that they assess to their participants is that's the association's.
Well,
We've asked them not to do it as an add-on fee so that it, you know, so you pay us this and then you got to pay the city this, so that it's one fee that they're seeing it as one fee, but then we're getting back the $15 for every resident and $40 for every non.
Mike, you want to speak to that on the, how y'all do the front end?
So at the point of registration, parent puts their address in and we collect those and submit those to the city to receive the bill. Any resident from the city of Smyrna is eligible to submit to us proof of address to verify that they live within the city limits, and we reimburse them the $25 difference that we would normally have paid differently to them.
out of how much? What's the
They pay 40.
typical fee?
That's the one that's the 40
So
minus.
they pay, everybody pays 40 and then they get reimbursed.
They get money back if they're a resident.
So
How much does it cost to
your fee
How
is $40.
No, so it varies wildly depending on your age and level, but it's roughly about $200.
For your travel team, for your recreation,
Recreational.
but how much for your, like, your more advanced team? Correct.
The more advanced teams can pay, they're year round, and they pay about $1,600.
So, Richard, I have another question, because this is, I remember this was part of
I'd sure like
the
to see our
Parks Master
citizens
Plan
get a
and
discount.
discussed in terms of, and you said
About
the
a
lines here,
$45
there's some
discount.
lines for.
Y'all, hey, listen up now.
Yes, there's some lines here for lacrosse. Are we offering our lacrosse to our
No,
kids yet?
no, we are not.
Because that's important in terms of other areas like East Cobb. I know they have a really vibrant lacrosse program. And then when they get into high school and they're competing, like Campbell High School, competing with other high schools, it's important, and our kids grow up without having that as experience.
The
I guess.
challenge really becomes field space. It really does. The only way that we would be able to do that is take nights away from NASA Top Hat. We would have to say, you guys have it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and lacrosse has it Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and Saturday, you guys would have to split the day on the field. I mean, with 18, like I said, not 1,800 kids, 1,425 kids, 186 teams. I showed you the field layout. It's like ants.
And it's not decreasing, it's
No.
increasing.
Oh, yeah.
Both baseball had 92 little league teams
Do
on
not have the field.
in the parade. So what's happening in our city is we have a lot more younger families than we've ever had. And the demographics are changing, and we need to serve those people.
The master plan suggested that we take over Fox Creek Golf Course and turn that into a major sports complex. That would give us additional space for soccer fields, lacrosse fields, baseball fields, whatever we wanted to do. But then we'd have to deal with all of the mad golfers.
Golfers are mad anyway. I know that.
Not on the first tee.
So, any other questions? Travis, anything? You still with us?
I don't even know.
Yeah, no, I share the comments, particularly Mr. Gould. I think he nailed sort of where I was thinking, so. thank you.
Lewis, one of these is in your ward, one of them is in Glenn's. What do y'all think?
I think, it is reasonable to think about the possibilities of improving the field, giving more options, giving things that also are commensurate with other communities that are providing similar services to similar resident profiles. And thinking about the demographics of the community we're in, so many kids, so many families. I see in Ward 7, I mean, it's families with kids, and on Saturdays, they're all gone, either to a baseball field or a soccer field, all day long. I mean, this is high demand, and it's exciting to see that demand. And I think it would be a shame if somehow we lost that ability to serve the residents in this way. But at the same time, I think it's also reasonable to think that, we invest in a lot of things, right? We've invested in baseball to support that operation. That's a big operation for families that are volunteer. This is good. This is a good thing. Yeah, it costs money. Yeah, it'll cost maintenance down the line, but you'll have that all the time, right? Nothing we put in is going to be maintenance free forever. So it's certainly a part of the consideration, but I think it's a reasonable consideration right now.
If I may interject, I apologize for my line, but the difference too, I think, with baseball and soccer, baseball, there is a geographic component. If you live within the city limits, you must play for the most part, with Smyrna Lily. That does not exist with soccer. And we have seen families that live within the Smyrna community that go and participate in other communities, other areas.
With better facilities.
Because of the better facilities.
I've heard that.
Frankly, if a turf field is installed, I can almost guarantee we'll probably jump about another 500 kids, frankly, almost off the bat. So internally, that's what we're projecting.
Glenn?
I mean, I think it's definitely worth looking into. We're not making a yes or no decision right now, so it's worth seeing how it plays out and make the decision when we know like cost numbers and all that.
It's my hope that when the numbers come back, they're in line with these estimates, and I'm hopeful that we move forward and then develop a plan, whether in our planning going forward, both in the general budget and in SPLOST, for the 2028 SPLOST. I think this needs to be a focal point, and just keep adding on and improving these facilities as we go, so that we don't get into this position that we're in right now, where there's a glaring deficiency in what we're offering our young families. So, all right, Richard, anything else? Any other thoughts?
Not at this point. Just, you guys tell me what you want me to do next.
Thanks for getting this together on short notice. Mike, thanks for being here.
right,
You can stay, but you don't have to.
Let's do what he's asking. What are we going to have him to do next?
I believe next is to start the process that you outlined.
So we're going to get a plan.
Yeah.
Let's get a full civil.
I think get a full civil, do all of the things that are necessary to prepare it for the bid package. Okay?
What is the percentage of young women that we serve with the soccer fields as compared to?
That's a good question. I know in soccer, it's much more equitable than some of the other sports. Mike probably would be able to tell you that number off the top of his head. I didn't ask him for that information.
Okay, I'm just curious.
In the Smyrna component for our club, it's about 60-40 men, women. In our club as a whole, with all the different locations factored in, it's about 55-45 female male. So it's actually more female dominant than male.
That's a great question.
So currently, the Smyrna area is a little behind with the female participation rate. There's some cultural and frankly, again, it's a facility thing. A lot of our higher level female players go and play somewhere else.
Okay.
One thing I didn't include in this presentation, I know time is starting to get away from us, but I did ask Mike to send me all the different locations that they go and play soccer, all the outside of the city of Smyrna. Of the locations that he sent me, and this may have been a setup, I hope it was. Of the facilities that he sent me that were public facilities, there was only one other facility that still had natural grass fields. Everywhere else they go and play, they're playing on synthetic surfaces.
That's Marietta.
No, what was it, Cherokee? It was,
Cumming, Roswell, Alpharetta, I think.
but what was the one complex that was still grass?
That might have been the Grimes Bridge location. Was that Roswell?
Maybe it was Roswell. It was either Roswell or Gwinnett, because Gwinnett has that huge sprawling, that had a combination of
That's
synthetic
Forsyth.
and grass.
That was what it was. That's
Okay.
Alpharetta. Yes. I think it's
So
Grimes
we-
Bridge,
in
Roswell,
comparison?
East Roswell Park.
So in comparison to all the other parts.
And most of the facilities, most of the public facilities in Cobb County aren't turf fields at this
Wow.
point. Unless they're in natural floodplain, they can't be turf.
When is the event that y'all hold where all the young kids come out?
The elementary school
Yes.
tournament, May 19th.
May 19th, y'all, mark your calendars. It's the elementary schools come out and play against each other. We went out last year. I announced all the kids, and it's a fun.
We're finalizing that date, but we hope to have it pretty nailed in.
Please let us know. Yeah, we'd love to come out. That'd be great.
And please reach out if anybody has any further questions. I'll be around.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.